Good afternoon. We will continue to study about the role of a subordinating conjunction that has the trait as a pronoun. We will review the role of a verb because we can be persuaded for the necessity of a subordinating conjunction related to the description that a subordinate clause can have, a subordinate clause can do for an indication. It's like we can be curious about the reason why we link the subordinate clause to a main clause, because it's okay. Just we can use the indefinite pronouns like anything or something instead of the subordinating conjunction what. And this part that reviews the role of a verb can make us sure, can make us persuaded to the necessity that a subordinate clause is essential for deepening the intent of the speaker that is delivered in the main clause. The first role of a verb, revealing the tense of a clause, is the second role of a verb in a clause. What was the first role of a verb? The first role of a verb that is applied in a clause is that only a verb is essential in constituting a complete clause. Let's start to study about tense. A verb or a derived form of a verb reveals the information about the time that the definition lasts. The information about the time reveals the necessity of a verb or a derivative of a verb in the subordinate clause. The derivative of a verb can be a to infinitive or present participle or a past participle, something like that. The tense of a verb includes the information about time when the definition is actualized and the gap between the present and the time of the actualization. So this explanation points out that the tense is not about only a point in time when the definition of the verb actualizes. It's about the gap between the present and the point in time when the definition of the verb actualizes. It's a gap. It's a time gap. The standard to discern the tense of the clause is the present when the speaker delivers the clause to the listeners in a conversation. That's the reason why the present is always the standard of determining the tense of the clause. So the speaker constitutes the subordinate clause to reveal the period that the description about the subject is valid. The third role of a verb is to reveal the information about the subject. To reveal the number of the subject and the role of the subject in the conversation with the speaker. The speaker constitutes the subordinate clause to reveal that the subordinating conjunction to practice the role as a subject described by a verb signifies the information about the number of the subject and the role that the subject practices in the conversation with the speaker. I'm sorry. The speaker who applies a verb reveals the information of a verb in the the information of the subject in the form of the verb. So we can think of the reason why the speaker differentiates every subject or a part of the subject with a specific mark or specific form in case that the verb is a be verb. This is because the speaker cares for the listeners to prioritize the intention of the speaker conveyed in the subordinate clause according to the subject indicated by the subordinating conjunction as a pronoun. The listeners gather various information from the speaker. Even in a conversation, we share various information. So the speaker considers the way that the listeners sort out and prioritize the information gathered by the conversation. So the speaker, we can think like the speaker tries to convey the information in the priority of the subject that is relevant in the conversation. So when it comes to the relevance to a conversation, the speaker and the listeners can prioritize the participants in the conversation. So the general verb has the original form of the verb when the general verb describes the subject who is in the conversation. And we can also share our opinion about the subject who does not participate in the conversation, or subject who do not participate in the conversation. In that case, we prioritize the number. The plural subjects are more influential to the. So the speaker reveals, so the speaker keeps the original form of the general verb when the general verb describes the subject who do not participate in the conversation. It's all about the priority that the listeners sort out and prioritize every information gathered from a conversation. And the speaker intends to care for the listeners to analyze and prioritize every information. We can understand the subject-verb agreement like that. The fourth rule of a verb is to reveal the transitivity, but not every verb has the transitivity. The verb that has the transitivity is called with the term the transitive verb. The verb that does not have the transitivity is called with the term the intransitive verb. Let's read the explanation together. The speaker constitutes the subordinate clause to describe the subject or object indicated by the subordinating conjunction as a pronoun to be in a relationship to give and receive the definition of a transitive verb or a preposition with the other subject or object. I added the fifth third of the adverb preposition because its definition always has the transitivity.